Microplastics are all around us, from the food we eat to the packaging we use, and sometimes even in the air that we breathe. And our bodies aren't naturally designed to handle tiny plastic particles. So how can you get rid of them and detox your body from microplastics? Let's go over the best ways and let me show you how it's done step by step. I will talk about how to reduce exposure, how to reduce the damage that microplastics do on your body, and how to get them out. To start off, why are microplastics even harmful in the first place? What do they do in your body? There are several ways in which they mess with your biochemistry. The first is by physically blocking cell function. Microplastics are small enough to enter cells, and once they're inside, they can throw off important cellular processes. For example, they can block the movement of nutrients into the cell and of waste out of it. Over time, this can damage the cell's ability to repair itself, which can lead to tissue dysfunction and even cell death. Microplastics can also cause long-term chronic inflammation. When these tiny plastic particles get into your body, your immune system sees them as invaders and kicks into gear. This constant immune response leads to low-level inflammation, which over time will mess with your health. Chronic inflammation is linked to conditions like heart disease, arthritis, and even certain cancers, so it's definitely something to take seriously. You have probably also heard that microplastics mess with your hormones. They often carry chemicals like bisphenols, which either act like hormones or block the action of hormones. This hormonal imbalance can disrupt everything from your reproductive system to your thyroid and lead to issues like lower fertility, weight gain, and developmental problems in teenagers. Over time, it can also increase your risk for conditions like diabetes and hormone-related cancers. Also keep in mind that microplastics will impact different organs differently. For example, microplastics aren't just in our food and water. They're also sometimes floating around in the air that we breathe. When you inhale these tiny particles, they can irritate your lungs, or they can end up in places like your liver, kidney, and brain. Microplastics found in testicles have also caused quite a bit of shock, since over time they could lead to organ damage or reduced organ function. So as you can see, microplastics are definitely a problem that needs to be dealt with. When it comes to environmental toxins, I always like to address them in a 3-step process. 1, reducing exposure, so making sure your body has less contact with them. 2, reducing the damage they do. This is all about lowering the harmful effect they have on your body. And 3, targeted elimination. This is what most people think of when they hear the words microplastic detox. Let's go through each step in more detail. The biggest source of microplastics in our environment are textile fibers from synthetic clothing, plastic packaging and single-use items, personal care products, and industrial waste. So ways to reduce your exposure are to choose natural fibers over synthetic ones, since your clothing can be a big source of microplastics coming into your body through your skin. You can opt for natural fibers like cotton, wool, or bamboo to reduce the amount of plastic on your skin. Filtering your drinking water is also a good idea, since microplastics have been found in both bottled and tap water. Even though reverse osmosis filters would be the most effective ones for plastics, there are other reasons why I only filter my water with activated carbon filters, but that's a topic for a different video. Plastic containers and packaging can leach microplastics, especially when heated, so stick to glass or ceramic alternatives whenever possible. The same applies to packaged and processed foods, which are often exposed to plastics during the manufacturing process. But of course, limiting processed foods is always a good idea. I don't need to tell you that. And lastly, microplastics can accumulate in household dust, especially from synthetic textiles and plastics. Regularly vacuuming, dusting, and opening your windows can help reduce the amount of airborne microplastics in your home. Now, to be honest, you will never be able to completely avoid plastics in your environment, which is also why I don't want you to obsess over this. They are simply too abundant, so finding ways to reduce their damage is even more important than just limiting exposure. The way to do this is by reducing chronic inflammation in your body and finding ways to mitigate oxidative stress. Both are made a lot worse by microplastics and need to be reduced for better health. Oxidative stress is caused by an imbalance between free radicals, which are harmful molecules, and antioxidants, which neutralize them. Things like pollution, smoking, excessive alcohol, and of course microplastics can increase free radicals in your body. This in turn leads to oxidative stress, and when that is not kept in check, it leads to chronic inflammation. The body naturally produces some antioxidants, but it needs certain nutrients from our diet to do this. Examples would be vitamin C and E, selenium, and zinc. Glutathione, which is made from cysteine, glutamine, and glycine, is also a very potent antioxidant. Eating a diet rich in whole foods is essential here because they're packed with antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds that help fight free radicals. Most vegetables are especially helpful because they provide the vitamins and minerals necessary for this. You also want to make sure to get enough fiber and phytonutrients that promote gut health, which is closely linked to lowering overall inflammation. Obviously, limit processed foods, refined sugars, and unhealthy fats, since they all contribute to oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. This, of course, is very general advice, so let me now talk about targeted microplastic detoxification. The main problem with them is that our body has no specific pathway to break down microplastics, at least as far as we know. Usually, when the body encounters environmental toxins, it sends them to the liver to break them down or make them less harmful, after which they're eliminated through your urine or your bile. But plastics are entirely synthetic, and they weren't part of our natural environment until relatively recently, so our bodies didn't really evolve to break them down. This makes it tough for our system to deal with them, so they tend to stay longer in our organs and body. This slow buildup can then increase the risk of all the health problems that we discussed earlier. But that doesn't mean there's no way to deal with them. While we don't know the specific pathway that our body uses to get rid of microplastics, we know that the liver as the primary detox organ always plays a role. The liver works in 3 phases, phase 1, 2, and 3 detoxification. I explained this process in more detail in a different video, but during phase 1, enzymes like cytochrome P450 try to modify toxins to make them more water-soluble, while phase 2 involves binding these modified toxins to other molecules like glutathione to make them easier to excrete. In phase 3, they are then transported out of your body, so you either poop or pee them out. Because microplastics are synthetic and can't really be broken down like other molecules, they can really stress the liver. This means you need to make sure your liver has enough of the nutrients needed for all 3 phases. Otherwise, it cannot keep up with the workload. Phase 1 is heavily dependent on the B vitamins, especially vitamin B6 in the form of P5P. Antioxidants that help keep free radicals in check are also vital here. Phase 2 requires certain amino acids like glycine, cysteine, glutamine, or methionine. And because phase 3 is all about bile production, you want to make sure you get enough taurine, which is a critical amino acid for bile production. Also make sure to eat enough fiber so you avoid constipation. Now again, this is all regarding the liver. Unfortunately, we have another route of eliminating microplastics. It's through your skin. Research has shown that certain types of plastics can be expelled through your skin simply by sweating them out. Regularly hitting the sauna is the best way of doing this. Theoretically, exercise will also help you sweat, but it activates the sympathetic nervous system, so your stress response. While it is active, the body does not prioritize detoxification and instead will send most of its energy to your muscles and lungs. Saunas, on the other hand, tend to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the antagonist to the sympathetic nervous system. It is linked to rest, recovery, and detoxification. Dry brushing is also a great way of keeping your skin and sweat glands open. The idea of dry brushing is really as simple as it sounds. It's brushing the skin with a dry brush, following a particular sequence, usually before having a shower. So don't do it on wet or sweaty skin. Basically, what it will achieve is lymphatic drainage and circulation. Your lymphatic system works alongside your blood to remove waste from your body. Unlike your blood, which has the heart, the lymphatic system doesn't have an organ that keeps the flow going. So it relies only on body movements and manual stimulation. Dry brushing itself won't do much, but together with the other tips that we discussed in this video, it can help eliminate all types of toxins from the body quicker because it enhances lymph flow. Now, at this point, I also need to talk about donating blood for microplastic elimination. It could potentially serve as a detox pathway because it has been shown to reduce levels of PFASs, so forever chemicals, which are similar to plastics in their chemical makeup. By donating blood, you may be able to remove a small portion of microplastics that is circulating in your blood. But keep in mind that this method only addresses the ones in your bloodstream and does not affect the particles stored in your organs and tissue, where most of the buildup happens. Also, donating blood always depletes some vital nutrients, so I don't feel comfortable recommending it to everyone without knowing your specifics. Definitely talk about this with your practitioner before you start donating blood regularly, and make sure to monitor your nutrient levels along the way. And that's pretty much it. If you look at all the things we discussed in this video, you can see that the key to detoxing microplastics is really about supporting your body's natural elimination organs and pathways. Your liver, kidneys, gut, and skin all work together to process and eliminate toxins, including microplastics. If you enhance these pathways through a healthy diet, proper hydration, and also make sure to limit your exposure somewhat, you're in a pretty good position to minimize the danger that microplastics pose. While they are definitely more complex than other toxins our body normally works with, we can take advantage of the fact that microplastics can be excreted through the skin. So activities that promote sweating are definitely very important if you want to get rid of them quickly.